Okay, so in the previous video we looked at converting between percentages and decimals and vice versa. We're now on to converting between percentages and fractions, and we're going to have this to refer to at the top of the page, which is good. So first of all, we're going to be looking at converting from percentages to fractions. So from percentages to fractions. So to do that, we're going to be going from here to here, and all it is your number over 100, and that is simply it. Okay, so really quite simple stuff. So the first one, right, percentage to a fraction, your number is 8, and then you write that over your 100, because by definition, right, percent means your number, percent means per 100. But importantly here, right, if you can simplify your fraction, you need to, okay, and you simplify a fraction by dividing by a common denominator. Now, if you're not sure what to divide by something you can do. Well, 8 and 100 are both even, so let's go and divide by 2 on top and bottom and divide by 2. So 8 divided by 2 is equal to 4. 100 divided by 2 is equal to 50. Now, because 4 and 50 again are both even, we can divide by 2 again. We can divide by 2, and we can divide by 2. And 4 divided by 2 is equal to 2. 50 divided by 2 is 25. So we could have just gone and divided it straight through by 4, but I've done it by 2 and then by 2 to get the same thing. Now, because 2 is prime, and in other words, there are no other factors of 2 and 25, this is your answer in its simplest form. Okay, so 2 over 25. But this means the same thing as this, which means the same thing as this. The last fraction is just in its simplest form. Okay, I've simplified the fraction down. Okay, so let's make a note of that on the first one. So this here is in its simplest form. But all those fractions are equivalent, meaning they're all equal, but that one's the best answer because it's the most simplified. The second fraction, we've got 40%. And again, to go from percentage to fraction, you just put your number, which is 40, and you put it over 100. And again here, right, if you can divide by a factor, do that. This time, right, I know that the highest factor here is going to be equal to, well, we can divide 3 by 4. So let's go and divide 3 by 4 on the top and bottom. Okay, so what is 40 divided by 4 is equal to 10, and then 100 divided by 4 is equal to 25. But again, okay, there's a common factor here. We can divide 10 and 25 by 5. So we can divide the top by 5 and the bottom also by 5, because 10 divided by 5 is 2, and 25 divided by 5 is equal to 5. Okay, so 2 over 5. Really, right, it would be much easier to, well, 4 times 5 is 20. We could have just gone and divided 40 by 20, which is 2. 100 divided by 20 is also equal to 5. Yeah, I've done it. I don't know why I did that. It was a slow way of getting there, but we got there in the end. My brain is clearly a little bit tired from school. But anyway, all good. I think you get the picture. We could have divided by 20 straight away, but I've divided by 4 and then divided by 5. We get the same answer. Again, all of these fractions here, these are equivalent, okay, but this is just the better answer. It's in the simplest form, which is nice. We've then got 55%, which we can write as 55, your number, over 100, so over 100. And again, you've got to divide by a common factor, which in this case is going to be dividing through by 5 and dividing through by 5, which is nice. So 55 divided by 5 is equal to 11. 100 divided by 5 is equal to 20, so 11 over 20. Okay, so that is your answer. So 55% as a fraction is either 55 out of 100 or 11 over 20. Now, 14%, what is going on here? 14% again is going to be equal to your number, which is 14 over 100. Again, these are the same thing, but we can simplify this fraction, can't we, by dividing by a common factor. So it's getting a little bit cramped, isn't it? But we can divide here by 2 and divide 100 by 2 because they're both even. And 14 divided by 2 is 7. 100 divided by 2 is equal to 50. So 7 over 50. And because 7 is a prime number, there's definitely going to be no other factors. So that there is your answer. Again, 14% is the same thing as a fraction as 7 over 50. Now, last one, we've got 11%, which we can do over here. So we've got some more room. Right, it's going to be 11 out of 100. And because, right, 11 is a prime number, it's going to mean that there's going to be no factors of 11 and 100. So in this case, you can't simplify your fraction. It's just going to be equal to 11 over 100. Brilliant. You can now try your turns. You can pause the video and then we will go through all of these. So the first one, 4% to a percentage to a fraction. So again, we're just putting your number for all of these, which the first one is 4 over 100. Okay, so these are the same thing, percentage and a fraction. But again, of course, we can simplify because 4 and 100 are factors. We could divide by 2 and then by 2 again. Or we could go and divide straight away by 4 because 4 is the highest common factor of both numbers. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 100 divided by 4 is 25. So 1 over 25. Yeah, so that's good. That's the first one, and we can't go any further, so there we go. So 4% as a fraction is 1 over 25. You could have written it as this, but we always simplify our fractions. 25%, hopefully we know as a fraction that is a quarter, but let's show that by doing, well, your number 25 over 100. And then you can divide by the biggest factor here, okay, which is to divide through by 25 and divide through by 25. Because now, what's 25 divided by 25? Just simply 1. What's 100 divided by 25? It is equal to 4. So we can see that 25% is the same thing as either 25 over 100 or a quarter. Okay, so hopefully that's one that we might have known already. Next one, we've got 96%, which is 96, your number, over 100. But again, of course, you can divide by a common factor. If you're not sure what the highest common factor is of these numbers, just begin by dividing by 2 if they are both even, which they are. Because they are both even, let's divide by 2. 96 divided by 2 is 48. 100 divided by 2 is 50. Okay, but again, 48 and 50 are both even. So let's go and divide by 2 again. Okay, so let's go and divide by 2. Let's divide by 2. 48 divided by 2 is equal to 24. 50 divided by 2 is equal to 25. And now there's no other factor of 24 and 25. So this actually is your simplest answer. Okay, so 24 out of 25. Okay, so again, these is equivalent to this, which is equivalent to this. But again, this is your best answer. It's in its simplest form. Okay, 28%, again, your number, which is 28. So 28 over 100. Okay, divide by a common factor, which in this case we can divide by 4. Okay, we could go by 2, but I know that the 4 is a factor of both. And then we know that 28 divided by 4 is equal to 7. 100 divided by 4 is 25, so 7 over 25. Okay, in its simplest form. There we go. Ooh, what we're doing, there we go. Okay, last but not least, we've got 17%, which is going to be 17 over 100. And because 17 is a prime number, it's not going to be any factors of 17 and 100. So that is simply your answer. Okay, so that was percentages to fractions. Now, fractions to percentages. And to do this, okay, you read the number. So we're going from fractions now to percentages. And right, because a percent is out of 100, right, if you get the fraction to be out of 100, you just read the number on top. So for example, 20 out of 100 is 20% because percent is per 100, 20 per 100. So the first one, right, what I need to go and do is get this 10 to be equal to 100. And I can do that simply by multiplying through the denominator by 10 because 10 times 10 is 100. But I must do the same thing to my numerator, times it also by 10. So now it's going to be, well, 10 times 10 is 100, 4 times 10 is equal to 40. So 40 out of 100, because it's out of 100, percent is out of 100, so it's simply going to be equal to 40 per percent. Okay, and that is my first answer. My next one, again, I've got to get my denominator to be out of 100 because a percent is out of 100, so it's got to be out of 100. Now, how can I get from 20 to 100? I can simply multiply it through by 5, do the same thing with my numerator. Okay, so 20 times 5 is 100. 13 times by 5 is equal to 65. So 65 out of 100% out of 100, which is good. So 65%. And there we go. Good. Last one. Right, we've got 16 over 40. And again, the bottom number, denominator, has got to be out of 100. Now, you might recognise that get from 40 to 100, we can times through by 2.5. If you couldn't do that straight away, well, let's make it a little bit easier for ourselves by, first of all, right, dividing through here, dividing through by 4 on bottom and on the top, because then what's going to happen? 16 divided by 4 is equal to 4, so it's going to be 4 out of 40 divided by 4 is 10. And now to get 10 to become 100, it is much easier. I can times through by 10 on the bottom, and then times through by 10 on the top to give me 4 times 10 is 40, and 10 times 10 is equal to 100. Now my fraction is out of 100. My percent is going to be 40% per 100, so 40% is my answer. Good. You can try to your turns. You can pause the video and give those a go, and then fast forward to the end to get your answers. So the first one, 2 out of 50. Again, we've got to get it to be out of 100 because percent is out of 100. So we can times the denominator by 2, which means I times my numerator by 2. 2 times 2 is equal to 4. 4 out of 100 must be equal to 4%. Okay, so there we go. Good. Your next one, we've got 2 out of 5. Again, how do I get from 5 to 100? Well, 100 divided by 5 is 20, so it's going to be multiplying through by 20 on the denominator, timesing through by 20 on the top. 2 times 20 is equal to 40. 40 out of 100 is equal to 40%. And that is your answer for this one. Last but not least, okay, we've got to get from 18 out of 30 to a percentage. Well, again, if you can't get this straight to easily be out of 100, because to get from 30 to 100 is a bit more awkward, what could you do to make it a little bit easier? Well, you could, in this case, divide through by 6 on the denominator and on the numerator, because 30 divided by 6 is equal to 5. 18 divided by 6 is equal to 3. And now if we're going times the 5, I can times it by 20 and times the numerator also by 20. Okay, because now I'm going to be getting 3 times 20 is equal to 60. And 5 times 20 is equal to 100. So now I'm a good amount of 100, so I'm equal to 60%, which is good. So in this case, I had to sort of do a two-step process, the same with over here, to get to what I needed. But that's okay. We got there in the end. Okay, hopefully that was useful, and then we can move on to converting between our next two things, which I've forgotten what they are. But hopefully that was useful. Thank you.